Here he is. Star the West, the death. Can't see me in the shadows. Where wisdom lies. Your killer shit. What's the power Now 6 o'clock in the morning, the heaven's where I stand. 12 o'clock I do, I change on Uriel, just do. Now 6 o'clock in the evening, still he look like he won't land. Fly boss, bitch, it's the pilot man. Rock around that fight, get out. Rock around that fight, shout. Rock around that fight, get out. Rock around that fight, shout. Fly boss, bitch, rock around that fight. Rock around that fight, rock around that fight, Fly to brain that flight out, Archangel Uriel created the 7th, 8th, and 9th out. Then I be some air and water, fire. Trust me, ain't nobody higher. Esoteric Ghostbusters, my soul group, you can call for higher. Let me the job done. Don't hit me on the bullshit. Let the donut vibes. Yeah. Unleash the spirit in there, and we coming like Wakanda. Yeah, Wakanda forever. You don't know nothing about the great spirit. Feed it up to walking taco better. Fuck with Archangel Uriel, you gon' need a nurse or a doctor forever. I've been getting chased by ghosts in the past, fucking with a lot of you heifers. Light body, soul, wrecking, weighing mass. Parliament can stand on top of a feather. Yeah, we in some magical times. Look up in the sky, see a dragon to fly. It ain't that hard in the 20th century to come down, be the best rapper alive. Because all y'all do is talk about all that flame. Something in the dark, if I know that right. Fly boss, bitch. You gotta stop, you seen the ghost like culture die. Yeah, 6 o'clock in the morning, the heaven's where I stand. 12 o'clock, I do, I change your Uriel, just do. Now 6 o'clock in the evening, still he look like he won't land. Fly boss, bitch, it's the pilot man. All right now. Yeah. Rock around that fight, shout. Rock around that fight, yeah. Rock around that fight, shout. Rock around that fight, rock around that fight, rock around that fight. Bitch, I am an Aries, so I stay up where the air be. All my flows like Aquafina. Close your eyes, you can see them clearly. I ain't going ham, bitch, I'm going O's and grams. Fly balls, bitch, clear the streets for open land. Now your bitch wanna hold my hand. Now she got 10 kids, just all residue. 2 gun charges, all fingerprints. Man, Rick is better bury that shit. Man, grand talk, when they need a man. Like an asshole, take a weed and shit. And you sneaky, bitch, you get routed up way more than a cheetah friend. Just cooking up, might leave a stench. Cover up your nose. And this against the law, making money that the government don't know. Bullshit, that sound like to me. And you can never be on that flight with me. And you ain't really cold as ice to me. I done told you once, I'm like twice the G. Bitch, I'm about to live. And bitch, you wanna shit. You gotta look up to see me, bro. Bitch, I ain't no blitz. It's 4 o'clock in the morning. Carry in with a trap house. About the bottom, let's get keys down now. Let's get the hell out there. 6 o'clock in the morning, the heaven's where I stand. 12 o'clock I do, I change our Uriel, just do. Now 6 o'clock in the evening, he look like he won't land. Fly boss, bitch, it's the pilot man. Fight around that fight, get out. Fight around that fight, shout. Fight around that fight, get out. Fight around that fight, shout. Fly boss, bitch, fight around that fight. Fight around that fight, fight around that fight.
That's about what it kind of looked like too, didn't it? Now, didn't it? Didn't it kind of look like that? It's all about the frequency. It's your frequent enemy. It's your frequent enemy. It's your frequent enemy. But yeah, now we're going to get into some before we get to the gassy stages. Understand the formation and it being stretched out, stretching out the distance. coming from the heavy and all the consumption and the condensing and the collection and stretching it out so you can like get out of it like you go on a birth or something like that, but you're stretching it out through the distance and you better have a point. That's what this about. Gotta have a point. No matter what you doing. Even eating the fruit. Do you got a point? Do you know about moderation? You know it's a time and place for everything. It's a phase. It's a shift. Might not be a time for that fruit. Might just be time for harvesting season. We might be in the middle of it. It might be happy flight day, a little close to goddamn Scorpios. You know what I'm saying? But other than that, boom, it's like you know the whole circumstance and the foundation where we getting ready to get into. Because here's the thing. There's always many points of references. But can you stretch these out and find your point? And remember, you was one of these to figure out the angles that you was around, to know where the angles was pulling things from, to get in that world to understand the fruit that was built in the first place, and to know each of these is in locations, and the location is a point. You go to that point of reference, and that point is where that fruit come from no matter what, the intent. And for the most part, this is the pre-produced fruits, but understanding how to expand and stretch it out to find your point so you could become the producer. And then once you get into this area, you know, that ain't nothing but the gassy state, but we ain't there yet. This is a whole construct of how you just a space of nothing. You bring things in, boom, atmosphere. It's like we're going back where we came from with forms. So we go into the nothingness with God with a spaceship to get there. An ideology, a frame of thought, a train of thought, a line of reasoning, frequency, vibrating, being a sigil of energy. The gassy planes, the great gassy planes. But for the most part, this takes us into the area of getting there. So as we came from the bottom up, you was creating from the top down in the spirit, and what you created in the bottom was the physical, so you could experience it from the bottom up. Can't have one without the other. See what I'm saying? So, as you was presenting yourself, being on the ground basis, you started as one of those. Then you needed to know where the angles of it, and knowing that it's something greater than you. That point of reference you're coming from to know that you might got a guardian angel. You got a guardian angel. You got a guardian angle. You got a guardian angle. And then for the most part, boom. You start to understand the positions of these guardians so you can know what's a better way to do things, even outside of your own thought that you got to piggyback off of and things of that nature. So boom, then that slides you into their shoes low key. So once you in their shoes, you know the space that you going to grow up to be in, and they was already an adult being there, if you want to look at it in that kind of frame of thought. You see what I'm saying? But it's just piggybacking off your thought being the size of your spirit and whatever other thoughts in the size of those spirits, and you know some is more intelligent than you. Boom. And then once you stretched out to know those points of references, and now you're in the production itself and stuff, boom, that takes you into this area, right? The point where you can go to where the angles was at a point, and you could go to your own point with a little bit of less comprehension, but still that level of understanding to produce. And when you get into the production, that's going to be the gassy state. Right now you're understanding the collection of gassy state, what takes us from the realm of the physical, solid, and the whole spectrum of the liquid, and then the last class, the gas. So basically we was just breaking down you being solid or solidified down here as an individual, becoming to the less form of it, the liquid, and then transitioning into how that became solid and liquid in the first place, the gassy state. And then once we understand the gassy state, there's arenas and hemisphere, each gassy state condensed, liquefied, then solidify, so you can know each pocket of your organ that was created from each pocket of the chakra or mental construct that was created from each spiritual space you was in to make up your makeup within your noumenal, to fulfill your space, your individual space, which is a spirit. And when you learn that technology, that's the technology God has, or whatever the case may be. So you got raised up by no other but God. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what you was following, other than another individual. Now, other individuals could bring you to the ocean. It's just up to you to make the cup, because God made a cup. So regardless of a person got to the ocean themselves or had assisted to get to the ocean, it's still their personal responsibility to make a cup You know what I'm saying? So it's always two sides to something. There could have been an existence, God got assistance. There could have been an assistance, existence, God ain't had no assistance. Those are just possibilities, abilities to think. So you need to get out of your own bias of which one is the best route and just know when you get there, make your own cup. So even if you had assistance, you're not bearing responsibility on the others. And even if you got there yourself, you're not trying to be ego like no one could get a cup or make one, but only through you. And therefore, everybody has a clear stage at the esoteric holy beach. Swimming at holy water and things of that nature. We talk a minute, so I'm just getting y'all mind structured before you understand the each point in which you're stretching out that come from a duplicates of points that have condensed. And at this stage, you're supposed to be beyond putting objects on the ground. Now, if you is a person that was like, oh, it's just fun, and you ain't just doing this in your mind at the moment, you can. You know what I'm saying? Going all the way back to class 1 and started with the 2 objects, one in front of you, one behind you, one on the left and one on the right. Then putting ones in the angles and things of that nature. And then placing a circle now, or putting a blessed salt version of it, or whatever the case. And then aligning yourself to be in these areas, and then put a special representation of the object for each area. Once you're understanding the hemispheres of these things, not just the mind, but all these are organs. It's really us making our whole body. But for the most part, the body is a temple mentally. And it's also, if you're in that temple, you know how to relate to anyone else who has that same ability, even when they may lack those abilities and things of that nature. What takes us into the whole concept of this being social studies through the lens of parapsychology, through the forms of not being vague and being put in actuality, or put in a very all the way to who's the one interpreting it or expressing it at the moment. Someone from the hood who went through actual experiences, who look like they shouldn't be into these type of things, but is. All of that is a study. You see what I'm saying? So for the most part, what takes us into having a point, regardless of what stage of life you at, even if you want to look at this for yourself and say, this may be middle class, this may be this type of person, this may be this type of person, but they all can have a point to still reach a holy, holy, holy point, an absolute point that we all have access to go to, which we all got different points subjectively. So holy, the whole point is to reach a point where you at subjectively. That'll be the meaning behind it, holy, holy. And then for the most part, as long as we all practicing reaching a point, we don't have to have the same subjective point. We're still doing an objective thing that we all got the ability, like the same ability like thinking, the same ability we all can reach a point. So when you find what a point mean in its essence, holy, 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 the timing of it, every time ain't for that seed to be planted, astronomy, then we bring it down to the meaning for our own subjective position, pulling from the objective, right? Sharing this space, astrology, your own meaning behind the timing of that, and then how it play out in your actual physical agriculture environment, body / whatever you do with your physical, or whatever the case may be. And then therefore, that's how it trickle all the way down to your own holy. And therefore, now when you play out that little system, you understand how things is being broken down, and a way that it could flow through people that you're relating to on the same way, but also it's something that we have to point to externally that don't represent this thing. And that's the fruit. So this is the world of the fruit. So we're 12 minutes in, so let's get it. All right, let me see. And so we can know these representations and getting into the psychology, but also understanding how you really don't have to study someone else to know everything about someone else. You have a heart just like someone else. If things boil down to eat, fucking, and sleeping, the better you understand that for yourself, before you even get into an aspect of teaching others, you then learn something that's going to attract others to want to learn, where you have stretched it out a little further than them, went the distance, and now you found a point that another person is in a similar direction is going to try to find to bring more convenience or shelter or warmth or whatever energy that's positive to that organ. Eat, fucking, or sleeping, right? So the more you understand, it's something we all have physically, same way mentally, and the spiritual space we in, that we all could be able to see, even when no one else around physically, or even when there's no sound, when we by ourselves or with others. And there's all things we can visualize. even when there's no vision at all. So we know these things mentally condense in physical in all spectrums, not just scientifically or in colleges that try to separate the mind condensing and becoming a physical. We actually see, I know a person got a brain just like me, and I don't have to be around them. So even if we ain't discovered a brain, we know that we have objects inside of us that another person may have that's similar, or whatever the case may be. So before it's like that physically, it's also like that mentally. There's certain thought patterns you should be able to see that I'm able to see, even if we ain't around each other in certain ways. So people who's sufficient in that area know when you know better and you're doing something different with it, manipulating, or you don't know no better and you may need some assistance or a crutch to help you not go down the wrong path. And that's where just the truthfulness of, reality comes to be when it comes into parapsychology, and knowing that we in a dog-eat-dog world. There's certain things that you should rather not deal with anyway, because you already know that's going to be a fight. So you can see from a distance which you should choose to participate with, your aim and your point, and if that point stretch out in that substantiated space in a relatable angle and going where you're going anyway. And if not, you just have a miscellaneous point doing something for other points that don't have anything to do with you and your individual spaceship, and that's going to suit your mind and your spiritual space. So for the most part, this also help you be able to be a strong person and deal with others, but not let it go so far that it start to wear and tear on you, because you got so much mental strain of taking responsibility for other people's lack thereof. You know what I'm saying? Then when you got to think for others and stuff like that, you don't have to explode at the wrong place, wrong time, due to the fact of, that little tit for tat energy. You start wanting somebody to take the toll where they ain't, but you took more of the percentage scale of that part within the participation of the relationship, because you figured that they wasn't intelligent enough to take that position anyway. But then when you feel like they're around you enough and you think they think like you and you should just jump and take a job, and then they don't, then for the most part, you start to play out like they do, or they know how to do that and they should take that position, where you forgot that's how you kind of created y'all bond in the first place. And in their mind, they're going to look at it like you doing something different. So, you know what I'm saying? If you ain't deep within that handling yourself before you jump into relationships and circumstances that far, a lot of times this manifests into unhealthy shit that it looked good from the jump, but then it started to become too much on you. And then for the most part, you have to do a lot of other weird stuff to get out of it that really was unnecessary. You know what I'm saying? And make a person not like you in this area so they can stop asking you for other stuff in another area. And then that just create weird relationships in general where it wasn't even that. You know what I'm saying? It's because we're constantly in this cycle of lying to ourselves. Also, how we keep connected with our relationships. We sit there and lie about our involvement with it. And no one told you to have that depth of responsibility for something that's going to end up being something you want to reject later on down the line anyway. And it ain't no one else's fault that you didn't see it from a mile away. And these are the things that we're talking about. You know what I'm saying? Stretching out the distance. Stretching it out. Now we're going to get into the parameters, because for the most part, if you want to decipher it, it's like this is where direction and angle is coming from. But then if you want to pull that in this spectrum too, this lets you know if a person point is far left, a person point is far right, a person point is far below, or catacorner, or whatever the case may be. And you know if they wasn't getting messages from the right things to show you how to do things relatable and in sync. Then, or if someone figured out how to do something relatable and in sync, but figure out how to do it for a self-service way. And therefore, whatever you're participate with, right, you'll know how to stretch it out before participating physically to actually see the point. And if a person don't have a point, or they have a miscellaneous point, you know that it may have been a point taken from left field and made to be presented like this person is themselves on the right end. You know what I'm saying? Or the below end, or whatever the case. And if you can know, if you're spiritual enough, you'll know how to separate the point and what they're trying to make something look like where they're at to get their point across. And if that point is very distant from your point and the thing that they created for what they could look like to be able to be relatable to your point, if you could get across that little tangible chord right there, right, then you won't be blindsided by something you can't see. that's 7 degrees away, or layers away through biases, or layers away through, you know, whatever that was the monetary gain and something you just wanted to do, but you ain't know everything that it came with. And also, you'll be able to see how that play out in your own life in all kind of situations where you are here. Let's say you could be anywhere. This is when we get into detail what hemisphere is what. But I'm just making it, you could be one of these points from your whole mechanism of class 1 through class 4. Yeah, because through class 4. And then this could even be a version of you, not even another person. It's just a false synthetic ego or false synthetic goal that come from a whole nother point, whole nother angle, whole grouping of other individuals. So whole grouping of other individuals, peer pressure. Whole nother angle, angel, something that's really not in your favor, but you have to use it for you to get your 1-2, and something that look like it's the synthetic comfort zone or relatable at the moment. And then a whole nother point itself, right, where it really don't benefit you, it benefits something else. And then for the most part, you just was the face or the point of that family member, friend, or associate, or this own thought form that you have got lost in for yourself to make yourself feel like you get lost. And that point that you thought you was getting, you start to realize that wasn't the point at all. That wasn't the thought at all. That wasn't what you should have been pressured by at all. You know what I'm saying? Because you know this line of event led to everywhere else but an original point. And a point that was off angle, out of sync, out of alignment, right? So that's why you probably felt out of space, wiggling around, just trying to prove to something that looked like it was relatable within terms and agreement, whatever this pocket is. Your thought, another person, place, or thing, a circumstance, a goal. You see what I'm saying? And a lot of times, you don't know what that thing is attached to. Then you don't know what that thing is attached to. Then you don't know what that thing is attached to. But with this mind frame, it's easy to be this individual, to have this manuscript where you got a head start above others. That's what this class is about. So based upon, just before we even get to the gassy state, that's what individuals are doing already. So they're making the production. But a lot of times, what we're learning right now, this is the ending stages of understanding the production world itself. This is each point of where the production is coming from. So as we got into the last one, this was understanding the production, where you're in a position after you got outside of the angles, knowing that they was there. Well, this is your individual self. I mean, once you know that the angles was there, it took you into this position. You know what I'm saying? And the other one, squaring out the circle. Once you do, and then once you put yourself in a position, then it takes you here. Then once you here, right, that's letting you know you can see things in the angel's perspective or the angle's perspective, just not that much comprehension. It's like a blessing. You'll never be less, but you're receiving something from something greater in your lesser form to be perceived as something greater, to relate it to forms that's lesser just like you. So your being is in a lesser form receiving something greater. That's how you get blessed. You know what I'm saying? To put it in its proper context before you always belittle yourself as a spirit. And you don't, and you and I think, therefore I am, not I am, therefore I think. And therefore you always accepting crumbs in some way, all the way to ideas. So you're a person who a small thinker too. You eat small fruit. You know what I'm saying? So as you expand out of that and understand all these things is just taking you to the stretched out point. And that's the land of the point. Understanding all the production and stretching it out when it gets thin, so you can know where the seed's at from these fruits. And then for the most part, that takes it to fruit in the mental world, physical world. What's your point? So you need a point. So for the most part, what's your point? That's the whole concept of stretching something out, because the whole concept is distance. Like as a spirit, you start to expand. So simultaneously, you create something from the inside out, but that something that you created from nothing, you're automatically in it. So distance, closeness, brightness, dimness. Can't have one without the other. So distance also create brightness. So anytime there's a synthetic version of brightness put into a spectrum where it's too close, it creates friction. So if you have a fluorescent light that create brightness, but it's not made generally it's not made naturally from mechanisms from light before it condenses, and we're experiencing a distance from it, then it causes friction. And a lot of these cases, we call it radiation, deteriorating the eyes and stuff like that, and all other kind of stuff, tearing up your eyes, kind of getting more blinder than you usually would be. You probably could have seen sharper if you train your eyes to look at things without constantly taking most of your day looking at things closely, especially it giving off light rays. You see what I'm saying? So regardless of what we're creating things and what we think about it, there's still something happening beyond what we start to figure out after we make a mistake, like radiation and things of that nature. There's a mechanism itself. Brightness and light itself come from a spectrum of the lighter masses coming together to make a mass, and that mechanism before it condenses, the distance of it, that creates light and brightness. And that's the natural way of being bright. Even spiritually, when you make a mind state that's a little further out than the focal goal of whatever think tank you're around, or whatever the case may be, depending on how far you went in the distance, an individual may say that's a bright idea. Just like how they make cartoons and stuff like that and put a light bulb on top of Tom and Jerry anytime one of them get a good idea how to escape or capture one or the other. You see what I'm saying? So distance is what creates light in general. So it's not light as in photons, it's light in weight. And that's how you get to the holy people, the star people. Understanding the lighter forms of reality and how to jump in them. Just understanding how it moves. And now when you tell somebody it was just the wind and the way it was blowing, they have more context to it. They know that you're focusing in on the way a lighter form of something that you're made out of is planned out. So you're relating that to your actual heavier dense version of your life, and you're seeing how it's in sync in some type of way. And just for lack of better terms, you might say it was the wind, but knowing that the bastardized terminology and the meaning behind it is what's failing us to connect or have that true understanding in the middle of stuff. Because a person's supposed to know it ain't the word, it ain't the wind, but I know that this person related is a direction that the wind blow, so it was a direction that their life was going. And if it was a mistake that was had, they're comparing and contrasting it to anytime we have a thunderstorm, when one city wind got heavier stuff in the wind than the other city, and one start to implode in the other on a different cycle, and then we get a thunderstorm or something. So it was the wind. Now, if it was a positive day, right, and it creates a sunny day, you could say I was joyful and light, like a summertime within me, based upon the situation that I had when I went on a date. Now, a person don't have to think you speak spooky or spiritual or mysticism. They know what your focal point on. But there ain't no other focal point but that. So the wind did teach you that. The ancestors, the spiritual predecessors, all these forms did teach you that. We just know the level of comprehension when we're pointing to the external thing to represent the internal is where we fail. But it also should be an understanding so that never jumps in the way in our dialogue, also to the point that we start arguing over nonsense that's right in front of us that we know is apparent. You see what I'm saying? So that's what helps you understand how you pull a point out of nothing and it's still something, and then you tell somebody it's that and they truly understand still, and they trying to get that too, and that's it. That fruit, that point, you want to get to that center point, and everybody can reach their own individual point. You just got to get through the mugginess, and once you get through the point, now you're in the world of the gassy stages where you are the creator. Which, before we get there, because that's getting more into the frame of God, and I have to be very careful too how I break stuff down and not make it, because I know certain things can be so simple, it can be disregarded, not really taken in the eardrums the way it's supposed to, and the level of how we already see signs and symbols and the meanings behind it and how it can be bastardized could lack the level of comprehension that's necessary for you to even understand. Even if someone was to really break down God and is right in front of you or whatever the case may be, your level of comprehension won't allow you to see it in that perspective, and your expectation percentage scale is too high. So what you think what you're supposed to see or receive from knowledge from it, maybe on a whole different direction. So your visualization to be off, what you think you're supposed to hear be off, what you think you're supposed to comprehend to be off, while still doing what I'm talking about anyway. Trying to comprehend, trying to hear, trying to see. And ultimately, you're going to be using your mind for things it's not made for. Where we're actually trying to break down how you made your mind itself. And that's what's going to make you see anything close to God. You know what I'm saying? So first you got to look at it from that perspective. And that's what it means to completely get out of your own bias too. Like completely get out of your own bias while still being in your bias. So for the most part, you know, when you're interacting, there's a lot of things that's moving around. That's a multitudes of points that you can clearly get to a point to, and it's not that hard. Because you know your point of the matter and all the energies you put in it represent your percentage scale you're getting ready to add to a situation that ultimately you're supposed to be the spiritual responsible person to have a point. And when you don't got a point, you're lost in all the sauces and having to use the sauce also. And that's how you make mistakes. You know what I'm saying? And that's how you make mistakes in life. So I want everybody to take a few seconds to think about what you look at this as. Because it's also a test. See, these classes really supposed to be for y'all to be in person. Because we're supposed to be paperwork. We're actually doing these things on the floor. You're bringing their objects. Because here's the thing. There's a lot of things like if I wrote on a piece of paper and say how you look at this, right? There's also an objective to it. You know, it kind of compartmentalized who think more 2D, who think more 3D, who think more 4D. Then there's a substantiated list and a description of what does it mean to think 2D, 1D, 3D. You know what I'm saying? Like 2D. You might derive a lot of your, when I say ponder on this for a second and come up with an imagination and write it down or say something. You might come up with a whole bunch of things that may relate to if it was talked about on a chalkboard, or if it was some kids, like the city just did the cement and y'all want to hurry up and draw y'all name in it or something, like, you know what I'm saying? Things like that, or Pac-Man. Then it might be people who look at it like more 3D. And then they get into it like, well, maybe that's a TP, or maybe that's a hat, a cone. It could be a cycle. It could be a coil, or however the case may be, an have center point or whatever, a gadget. Then you could think 4D, right? Where you get beyond the object and you start to see it's a mechanism before any of these things you was just coming to agreement with from the 2D, 1D to the 3D, right? It has to come from an essence. So wiggle around a certain way. So before it condense, it be that type of shard, it be that type of cutting, it be that type of gem, it be that type of emerald, right? And then you're understanding, right? You're like time traveling, right? Now, when I say that, you might say that's pseudo, right? Cool. Let's say you go to a beach, the shore receding or something like that, and you see a few crystals and gems, and you pick them up, right? And you're looking at one. Now, you can be lost in the sauce. You might still not be the type of person that think deep enough. But I'll just put you in the game a little bit to help you understand it's not pseudo what I said time travel. The actual way of it. Not you going to an actual body in a time that you in your body now that you think you're going to go back to see like it's a different thing. So you're looking at it, and one got a few more cuts on it than another. One is shaped and molded on another. By default, you're going to start to break it down in your mind what one have experienced other than the other one, or compare and contrast the experience. But truly, when you're breaking down the experience for you to know why this one got so many cuts and this one been through hell, whatever the case may be, you're describing the time, right? Yet you wasn't there to experience it, but you have enough evolved common sense to know what something had to go through for it to look like that and have that rough edge or not, or whatever the case may be. And if you get ready to sit here and tell me that's not the actuality of mental time traveling, what is then? You're going to be lost in movies and stuff. We have to make sense out of stuff. Here's how we all don't have the same understanding, but there is a such thing as truth, And for lack of better terms, for us to agree on things, we may still use the same words. But if we're not having good dialogue, we're not going to come to no agreement of what actuality of things. And then a person could sound crazy from a distance. I mean, from a distance, you can't tell a star from who is who. But when we get up close, right, then for the most part, we can actually see the distance and what's bright or not. Other than that, you won't be able to tell the difference without the accumulation and the condensity of what we're actually calling dark. And a condensity is what a person could be in without ever separating themselves to be able to compare and contrast what might be distant, separate from them that may have that spectrum of brightness. And by default, whether you're retarded or not, all of us play that with each other. All of us in our own darkness, even if we make a darkness that's bright and light. Because by default, there's no right or wrong in these areas, and there's just gadgets and tools for us to use. But when you overuse it, that's when it becomes weird. You see what I'm saying? So for the most part, we have to have healthy comparing and contrasting, not egotistic comparing and contrasting. Because we take all of our colors, idea, ego, logic, desires, we blend emotional state. We blend all these colors together, so we automatically in our own darkness. But in this stage, it's light. It's not heavy enough. So it's actually our first shelter. It's our first representation, form, mentality, our first body to separate our spiritual space with other spirits doing the same thing. And we have a form to connect each other to, so we can create this condensity world and stuff. So first, yourself is your first safe haven, and you're supposed to take responsibility for that. You're still in yourself, making compartmentalizing, trying to use one or the other, like you ain't already did that in the first place. That's organ implosion. See what I'm saying? And then from that attribute, right, it places you into a perspective where you might think you're the brightest thing in the world because you kind of compartmentalize what you have already previously have condensed because we're already doing something. When we are making up the intent, now you're inside of your mind, the intent, doing the same thing as a smaller version of it, failed or forgot that you have already did it to be inside of that in the first place. That's the unforbidden fruit. That and a lot of us in that energy, and who's ever in this energy first, right? Which a large percent of us was maybe a person who had the intentions and started to interpret the Bible, maybe the person who even wrote the Bible and things of that nature. Because you still can't get out of your own subjectivity. Yet once you reach a height of understanding yourself, that people who share similar organs could understand you're on a rightful path. But it's still going to be filtered through your form of interpretation. And then when you do proper time traveling, you're able to understand who's the author of a Bible too. And you don't have to understand the specifics. You can just understand a person who have a certain intent. That comes with nuances and layers. That intent comes from survival, background, lineage, and all that to it. You know what I'm saying? All the way down if they're looking for gold. You know what I'm saying? And then that generalizes what they was making up to become the intent. Then the intent get filtered through the individual. Then it becomes the interpretation. Then once the observer from their own intent do the interpretation, we all could be seeing the same thing. We all could be right via interpretation. That's where we compare and contrast is an individual doing things right or not with whatever information we all got access to be able to see and hear, even when there ain't no voice and even when there ain't no vision. See what I'm saying? So that's how you get into the most aspect of it too. And that's learning from God. Look at it like this in a mental template. Let's say you believe in God in one of these monarchies or pantheons energy, which that kind of lessens equality through a human attribute. You got to learn how to think like something greater to you, like other things beyond God, before you think about it like God itself in this faulty way of it, right? You got to look at it like this. If you even believe in it like that, what would make you think God had assistance in this area I'm talking about that you supposed to have spiritual responsibility for if you want to be anything like that? And these is the areas y'all fail to take spiritual responsibility for. So how would you think that'd be close to anything that you believe in that actually a maker of it? When you show yourself every day, you make fruit and you have points. But a lot of y'all points is self-service, taken from other things, thinking it serve you, trying to learn all of its knowledge and all the angels and angels knowledge, demonize it, for you could understand a production that you fail to get to the area to create that production of fruit for yourself, so you become pointless in a world of points. But when your point get put against the fire, you have none anymore. When your logic get put against the fire, you have none anymore. When your world get put to the test, it ain't no world no more. It's just some monetary gain. So then, but it's something that's real for all of us. And it's not just the image itself, but it's a travel. And it allows you to see a spectrum of time you're no longer in, but you got access to. So it's within you, but it's part of the attribute or the plug-in that connect all the other parts. So you can't have one without the other. All the way going into an example of, we could build a lot of stuff up on bullshit that may work for current stages, but if we want to actually change it, got to get to the root. But if the root is so much at the bottom of all the other conveniences, then these other conveniences is going to have to go through a wear and tear deterioration before a person even feel to take responsibility to get to the root. You know what I'm saying? Now, in the spiritual world, that's supposed to be something we're already taking care of before you even crowd yourself around delusions. Before you even you're supposed to always have a point, because that point always going to represent the root of whatever you get ready to join as an establishment. And if it's always a good seed, it's always going to germinate, because it's right. Just like you always plant a seed, it's always going to grow. There ain't no mistakes, and people just need to figure out, and who told y'all don't know everything? You know what I'm saying? So once you go through all the classes, and then even, because I mean, everybody don't gotta get the book, but this is like the book as far as the astrology, that allows you, and the numerology and things, that allows you to kind of know what you're doing with intent. Not just learning about yourself, but now knowing what you're doing with intent. Because when you got a point, you know there's certain holy concepts. Your anatomy, astrology, then the holy, and then the astronomy, holy. So there's a time you have a point, planting the seed. There's going to be the meaning behind it, that season or that energy or that season you're going through in your particular life, right? And then there's going to be how it actually grows, or whatever the case. Your anatomy, what you actually start to produce from it, or however the case. So understanding the elements, fire, water, air, and earth. Spring, summer, fall, winter. The houses, the pockets that the sun and the moon is in when they start to have sex. The alignments, the 60-degree angle, the sextile, the square. Pardon me. I mean the square. Wait, hold on. Yeah, okay. The square 90-degree angle. The trine 120-degree angle. In conjunction quinquance. 150-degree angle, 180-degree angle, and stuff like that. It helps you understand these same pockets you understand for yourself. You're getting the holy mechanism of that. How you came here in the first place. All of our teamwork makes the dream work. And that's the plug-in, the power source. So understanding like hemispheres, fore, up, left, you could conduct that to spring, down, back, right. You could conduct that to fall and winter. So up, left, forward, up, on a holy perspective, and holy astronomy, astrology, that would be spring and summer. Down, right, back, that would be fall and winter. So automatically, the angles is another representation of just the sun and moon pockets. Sun, moon, masculine, feminine pockets, right? So that's something beyond you that you can start to understand. Fire is having a relationship with water, and that's the type of relationship the angle is using on both sides to make something, which may be me that was made out of that. See what I'm saying? Then, once you get into understanding that aspect, now you're floating on the holy chariot. Now you're floating on the holy chariot. You know what I'm saying? Now you kind of look at it like the holy chariot now. And the horses out. You know what I'm saying? And you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You know, all the whips and stuff like that and putting down. Because now you understand your direction. Because you know what point you're coming from, not a point you're trying to reach. Because you going back from your spiritual layer, and you know that's first. So what you make is the point, not you being lost in the flesh, and then anything we create externally mimic the body, and you're trying to do things in reverse. So you're trying to find the point. You're trying to find love. You're trying to find servitude, but you were supposed to make it. And wherever you made it at from your noumenal, that's the point. And this how y'all lose yourselves and miss your point and get lost in other points to understand your original point. And a lot of times it'll be too late. You just realize you end up not having a point. You know what I'm saying? So you got to keep that in mind. And y'all got to know these trolls that actually be them. So don't ever get that messed up. Like when y'all start seeing extremities and the politician faces and stuff like that, it actually be them. Don't ever get that twisted. That's how bored and old they be. So I should start roasting y'all right now that I know that y'all watching. And put you in a position where you can't really do that to me. You got to be sarcastic and secretly do it. And I will hurt your feelings every day. I will hurt y'all old ass feelings every day and start naming names and stuff like that. And you get put right in a bind just like everybody else. You nobody special. So everybody, regular people who watching, never forget, y'all start seeing that type of stuff and big old, that is them. Just like Elon Musk, he be on everybody's shit. Everybody's stuff. Don't ever get that. These people are perverts. This is their lineage. This is where they come from. They nuts is little. So they in situations where let's create situations for us to be perverts. So you better believe it's them. Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't get nobody's weak. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I'm glad you're learning something. You get to learn from natural stuff again. You know what I'm saying? Y'all get to learn from regular. You got the arthritis and y'all bow ties and stuff like you get my feet hurt energy and small dick. I need Ozempic. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, because you're going to need Ozempic. I'm teaching you your real mind. You are children compared to me. Understand that. Y'all come from nothing. But stuff that y'all bragging about, that means nothing. You know what I'm saying? Y'all just old for nothing and just weak. And your lineage is weak. But this is some nice stuff right here. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad you interested. I'm very glad you interested. You know what I'm saying? Real stuff. We just know who's stealing. You know what I'm saying? Now we know, oh yeah, I'm ready for y'all to crash out. Crash out. Go ahead. Tomorrow we waiting for news. We're waiting for every type of psyop, every type of word, every type of everything. You know what I'm saying? Because we damn sure can't learn nothing from y'all. I can't remember when I sat and learned something from y'all. I mean, how to be a man. I mean, how to make any money. I mean, how to speak. I learned nothing. Completely nothing. You know what I did learn? I learned people are perverts. I learned people are haters first. You know what I'm saying? I learned people are weirdos first. And I learned that people create circumstances for them to exercise their actual intent. That it's very easy to find a point of who will only have their intent. You know what I'm saying? And this the scholarship people need. You ain't gonna learn that in Harvard. You know, you ain't gonna learn that in Yale. You ain't gonna learn that in no HBCU. You might see something like it being taught by a pervert. You know, so that's it. Because a pervert would sit there and make Sora important. No point to it at all while these weird Tupac videos coming out. No point to it at all while these dead. Just perverts wanting to make money off dead people. You know what I'm saying? We're going to talk for real. We got to talk legit. You know what I'm saying? We got to have some common sense. We can't just be too lost in our own doings. You know what I'm saying? Why we want to be lost in our own doings? You know what I'm saying? So get y'all game up, but it is good to expand your brain. See things from other people's backgrounds. You know what I'm saying? Try to understand other people's levels of understanding and compare and contrast and put these things in other workings and stuff like that and try to solidify it and maybe use a rat or two to test it on or however the case may be, even if it go that far. You know what I'm saying? But other than that, it's to expand the mind and it's to justify, you know, but you have to be there though. You can't mimic it or whatever the case may be. And we at a time right now where, you know what I'm saying, what we do is what we do. This is what we self-project. I self-project teaching qualities. Even when fools want to show themselves as fools. Everyone gets to learn to a certain degree. That ain't even got nothing to do with what y'all actually call and learning. That ain't got nothing to do with what y'all actually put yourselves in and want to duplicate because you like to use your mind for things it ain't made for. And the mind is vast. You know what I'm saying? If anything's a vacuum, you could create a vacuum out of your mind. Suck yourself into a level of consciousness that you're not able to get out of. It's almost like a person that's in that energy, if I'm wrong, I don't want to be right. You vacuumed yourself. You know what I'm saying? Because when there is things in front of you that's a little bit more positive or a little bit more relatable to whatever you got going on, however the case may be, you done sucked yourself out of that receiving. You know what I'm saying? And then for the most part, it's just you abducted yourself into something that may not necessarily be true, may not be something that's beneficial to you. And for the most part, that's something everybody's just supposed to understand itself. You know what I'm saying? Before we create all these other weird things outside of ourselves that don't mean nothing, and we're lost in our own implosion. And then we call these things ego. We call these things success. We call these things my individuality. That's my version of individual. It's like self-service. But everything play out in reverse in the spiritual world. When it comes to the coil system, you suck yourself out of reality. You know what I'm saying? So you play out in a mental vacuum, right? And it's really an airbag because it's just a collection of thoughts, you know, and it's dusty because it's a collection of thoughts in one pocket of your own numinal space that's not moving nowhere. So it play out in the physical world also as sustaining things that's outdated, doing things that's outdated, and not getting no relatable results. Then it ain't what we do, it's how we do it. You start to self-project. It might be someone else doing the same thing, playing basketball, sitting in the basement like me. But here's the thing, right? Who's more relatable, who's more in sync? Because the positive energy come back from it in real life. When it's something a person doing thinking that it's positive or negative, it start to straggle down the long end and it's not seen as good. This is why things exist as you can have a family friend or associate or coworker that's a millionaire, but based off their attitude, you can give a fuck about even asking them for a dime. You see what I'm saying? That's where that come from. That's real. That's real. You know what I'm saying? These are real seeds. We plant, we experience, we forget how to cultivate. We end up needing these things, and then we end up being a part of these things. And these things end up being the face of us and stuff. And shout out to everybody. You know, I like to kick my jokes in too, or whatever the case may be. I know Eric got to give everybody open. Everybody hears stuff that they don't like to hear, or whatever the case may be. And everybody got to get their rocks off. And every man's supposed to respect that, and every woman's supposed to respect that. Never should lead to no damn assassinations and shit though, like that. That's when y'all start losing y'all minds and stuff like that, and world takeovers and stuff like that, and that's when it go way left, way far right. You know what I'm saying? But I wish all gangbangers knew stuff like that, and you know what I'm saying, psychopaths and stuff like that and stuff, you know what I'm saying? Because little do y'all know, online is a small world. When we walk outside, man, it's crazies. So, especially like you in urban areas. So mentally, there's a certain strength you bet not get rid of in the mind in any aspect of life. Whether you start to see without those qualities, you can see where people may be sheltered, get taken advantage of in areas that they may not even know they're getting taken advantage of. And it takes them about 10, 20 years and end up on VH1 for them to know what was going on and stuff. That don't even have anything to do with VH1. It's all the mentality you in for you to even be in that position in the first place. That's what count for people where I'm at. We don't even care about you getting rocked to sleep. We don't even wish. We already be thinking in our head, if we was there, this is what we already do with this, that, and third. And then we already know, damn, you only there because you a retard. And these be already things in our mind. You know what I'm saying? Like, for real. You can't be somebody like, I don't care if you're a popular celebrity or whatever the case, and you know this was one of the reasons you left the hood. You left from people like us. You left from around us and stuff. Because you know you got to hear that kind of conversation. You can't get away with common conversations y'all probably be having around your manager. Or your handler or whatever, and you could tell them, yeah, I could make them do this, or yeah, they all follow me and stuff like, you know, you can only get away with that so far because you trying to get a check. You know, you around old Cuddy Jimmy, you know what I'm saying? Auntie Jazzy and stuff like that. You know, once you start getting around all this, you know, it get weird. Now you got those deep conversations and people, your handlers asking you why you ain't never around your family or why you ain't never going back to where you come from. You know what I'm saying? You be making up them excuses. You know what I'm saying? But I'm giving you the juice. It's because it's the real. It's the real. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's duplicates that people in that position never in a position like y'all to be able to break it down. Thank God for YouTube. Like, you know what I'm saying? Thank God for YouTube. Real shit. Like, y'all getting the crevices of stuff. Like, the crevices of the areas that life is. Anything else ain't really life. Until you know how to build on your own volition and you can't expect nothing out there anyway. Or whatever. So any little thing is a positive, is a perk. Any piece of negative was already expected, already prepared for. Kind of feel weird if it wasn't. You know what I'm saying? You look at the negative more positive because you had to find so much positivity through negative. So you get so used to what you think is positive, even in areas where it ain't positive, you even see where it protect you in areas that is positive, motherfuckers still getting taken advantage of in another way. You know what I'm saying? And it's just about you having a point, and that point builds a moral system, and that moral is your rock. And, you know, no matter how all these pretty wiggly lines that lead to false points lead to, you know that this point matters more. And you're always able to duplicate something and always able to produce more where it goddamn came from. Which going to take us right into the goddamn gassy state. Being a production. Then you're going to learn our God and see how God move. God don't move the way y'all move. God don't move the way a fish move. God don't move the way a monkey move. Now, here's the thing. You about to put some over exaggeration because y'all don't like to give each other grace. You need to understand you don't move like a monkey move. A fish don't move like an alligator move. All right? So that ain't something you got to dive into to try to understand God. You see what I'm saying? The thing is, we all have the ability to think. There's attributes you can learn from another world, a pocket of world, mentalities, a monkey mentality, a lion mentality. There's things they can learn from you. And then there's less forms of things, right? When we say less forms, it's in reverse. It's greater in the spiritual world. So the less dense, lesser forms that play out at lighter in weight, there's a more intelligence behind it. Same way you use your mind more than a condensed, foggy mind of a monkey or something like that. So your intelligence is light, where you can do something that you call that a monkey may think is magic, but you have well comprehension of it or whatever the case may be. So you could do something where a monkey don't even see you, but the effects of it was caused by you. You see what I'm saying? The monkey might not know where that fan is blowing from or whatever. It took a human to put that fan there for the monkey in the cage or however the case may be. So when you extend that and based upon your level of comprehension and you needing something outside to come to you like another human or an animal, here's where you get into using your mind where it ain't made for and get away from the actual comprehension that you can be learning, where we go back to this point again. It may not be an actual voice you're trying to hear, and it may not be actually a visualization that you're trying to see. But you're best to believe that, goddamn it, it may be wiggling around all in your being. And it may be right in front of you. And it might be just something you need to compartmentalize. And you might not know how to do it because you can't separate from all the bullshit that you are in because you ultimately didn't have a point. And all these other false points was just membranes that bend in and became some physical experience that low-key almost made you insane. You know what I'm saying? So for the most part, your spirit running in circles. Your spirit's trying to reach this point, then start to realize in this area you're unfulfilled. Try to reach this other point, realize in this area you're unfulfilled. And this whole time you ain't find yourself and go through your pillars. You know what I'm saying? And see your sides of yourself that even angels had to do. Even angels had to do. You know what I'm saying? But when you reach these areas and stuff like that, right? This is the world we all in. All the way to the point that happy flight date. Go. Happy flight date. So it's your birthday crown. You know what I'm saying? Because you're giving birth to points. That's your children, but that's also, goddamn it, how you was born. You better believe it. I had to have a point to fuck the shit out your mother. You know what I'm saying? That was a point. I got hard too. Other than that, but you know what I'm saying? A rector swap. He'll hold that yellow hoop, Massasoit, and I love all y'all from the bottom of my heart. Flight boss, bitch, you know, for sure. You're not listening to the bottom of that Terrence Move. I'm the Royal Archangel Uriel, and I'm here to carry God duties and motherfucking responsibilities. And we get ready to find God on this goddamn page on the next goddamn class. Other than that.